Hi everybody, CohhCarnage here with a build update for my Trickster. We have now successfully made it to T15 on our Trickster, 100% solo. So I got there through a bunch of solo build adjustments, starting all the way from the end game to where we are now, T15. This build has successfully completed back-to-back T14s without too much of an issue, and I wanted to show you guys what it is in case you'd like to try something similar yourself. So, let's start at the beginning. The class skills that we're using for this one are Twisted Rounds, which is kind of our bread and butter. Then we have Venator's Knife for the AoE slow, as well as the small amount of extra damage it does. And we also have Borrowed Time, which is mostly acting like a long-term buff, but we can sometimes use for some positional tomfoolery if we need to. Our class skills are mainly Assassin in the Trickster tree. We go down the top path, taking Shotgun Master, Disruptive Firepower. We do not take Scion of Power, because hopefully, if everything goes as planned, we won't need it. In the few off chances that our damage buff does drop, we generally will be running for cover and not continuing to engage enemies while that comes back up. So we don't take Scion of Power. We also do not take Outrider Executioner, as we dropped the Teleport skill, primarily because right now the Teleport skill does have some bugs associated with it, where every so often you will use the Teleport skill and it will not move you, but take the cooldown. Now, if you're like me and you try to stay out of cover most of the time, that could put you in some very awkward positions where you then no longer have a teleport. So I dropped that for now for Venator's Knife for the AoE slow and a little bit more consistency in terms of gameplay. We do come down here and get Equilibrium for the Borrowed Time, and also grab Transfusion for the little bit of Weapon Leech. At the higher tiers especially, you do a lot of damage, so that Weapon Leech 5% actually can make a pretty big deal. Bounty Hunter's a great pickup, Oddity Summation as well, and since we're focusing on shotguns, we're going down to Shotgun Adept, and then we also take Cohh Calculation. We do go ahead for the extra DPS and take Arms, Trick, and Death Probability, even though they're normally different chains, but this build is all about DPS. All about DPS. And also crit, as you will see in just a little bit. But yeah. This build is basically a damage machine. You are a cannonball ripping through these levels. And the entire point is to do as much damage as possible while frantically running around, getting as close to other enemies, only breaking out if you need to, if cooldowns are up, or if your Twisted Rounds, or if your cooldowns are not up, and your Twisted Round skill goes down. So let's talk about our loadout a little bit. Now, we use an automatic shotgun with a narrow variant. The reason we use a narrow variant is because we are mainly using Venator's Knife, which gives you double damage on the first hit. I did use an auto shotgun that was the slug variant, which is a higher RPM with slightly less damage. However, now that we have a Venator's Knife implementation in our build, I went ahead and switched down to the narrow variant to get that little bit of extra kick in there, which can really help, especially against smaller enemies. Now, the two mods on this, the top one is fantastic for DPS, but it's a little hard to find. It is one that you have to rip off of a legendary weapon. It's called Embalmer's Rage. Now, this skill is incredible. For 5 seconds after a killing shot, all following shots will be critical hits. This is a huge DPS boost for this build. When I got this, I pretty much immediately found a shotgun that could use it. What I did, by the way, just to make this a little bit easier, and what I recommend doing, find a blue shotgun, and then when you upgrade that shotgun, you will get a choice of 3 different mods for the second slot. I happen to get Perpetuum Mobile for the second slot, which is a mandatory mod for this build, and then I was able to switch out Embalmer's Rage from our mod bank. The next mod that we need to talk about is Perpetuum Mobile. Now, this is a mandatory mod for this build. Perpetuum Mobile and some gameplay techniques can theoretically keep you buffed with the ammo buff the entire time you're playing. I'll show you here in a minute what that means, but what you basically need to do is anytime you notice your magazine getting about 5 shots or lower, normally you'd have 10, but since you have the 50% magazine boost from the Assassin's Tree, it should be around 15 for your shotgun. Anytime you see it getting close to 5, your eyes need to drop off whatever target you're on, unless you can finish it in 5 shots, and you need to be moving around looking for a target that you can kill within 5 shots. By doing that, you will reload your weapon, and you will then not take the damage buff from Twisted Rounds off of your character. Now, theoretically, if you do this properly, when you start a round, you can hit 1, and by the time you kill the last mob, you will still have that buff on you. Does that actually happen? No, almost never. Because there's all sorts of times that you have to that you can kind of mess up, or you may misjudge how much HP a mob has, and then at that point you're having to reload. Which is, by the way, one of the reasons that we take the mod here, which gives us an additional round before we have to reload. But again, once you get in the habit of always glancing down at your ammo or looking down the sights and looking at the ammo indicator under the reticule, you start getting that habit of anytime you see it getting to about a third, you're looking for an enemy to feed off for ammo. Anyway, moving on. Now, also really quick, because of this ammo thing, you don't need a secondary weapon. As you see, I run 2 shotguns. This is just for flair on my back. I don't run 2 weapons. The entire build is based around close range damage, using shotguns, and because your ammo is always up, I've gone 15 plus rounds and never needed a secondary weapon. So if you do it right, you only need 1 gun. Going down the right side, Twisted Fate, receive a 30% critical bonus. Now, this can be replaced, especially if you don't have Embalmer's Rage with other things. You don't do a huge amount of critting unless you are a very good shot with a shotgun. You will mostly be doing body shots and other things. So you can replace this with like Life Leech for a little bit more survivability. Or if you want to keep your other buff up, which we're about to talk about, Borrowed Time, you can put the 100% duration increase on here if you'd like to as well. The second thing on here, Bloodlust, this is totally replaceable. I have just not found a helmet yet that I can replace this on. I would probably have something else in place of Bloodlust, but it does okay for now. And we do have a lot of DPS in this build. So that extra, 36-ish K of firepower isn't bad. But again, it doesn't really do anything for single target for us. So there are better mods for that slot. Moving on, we have additional mag. I do recommend this because, again, unless you kind of are a perfection player, which I know I'm not, having that additional mag of twisted rounds, since we want that up as much as possible, is very beneficial. Now, here's where we're going to start talking about the bread and butter of survivability at higher tier builds, especially on Trickster. You are a wet paper towel. If there are multiple enemies on the field of specific types, 1 attack from each of them at once will kill you. That's just how it is. Now, you can counterbalance this by doing a lot of DPS and getting kills near you, but you will die, as I found out many times in developing this build. Now, there are 3 specific mods that when you put on your character lead to a joyous amount of survivability. And here are those 3 mods. Ice Trap is your first one. Whenever your health drops to 30%, and you're going to hear that number a lot, 30% coming up here. Whenever your health drops to 30%, all enemies around you are going to freeze. The second you see things freeze around you, get in the habit of looking for the weakest enemy. You can get a kill off then because of the Trickster class ability of healing by killing nearby enemies. You will immediately get some health back and be back in the fight. So it only has a 5-second recast. So whenever you see that freeze go off around you, stop what you're doing and either kill that main target you're on if you can, or immediately start looking for another target. Or if you can, pound your borrowed time and get out of there if your borrowed time is anchored somewhere far away. That's the first of the 3. The second of the 3 is Perseverance Shield. So we're hitting 30%. Everything around us is freezing, and we're getting a 7,000 point shield on top of that. So that is our second bit of survivability. So let's say you're getting hit by 3 guys. Well, boom, they all just got frozen. And just in case there's people shooting at you or someone else jumping in, you just got a 7,000 point shield. Awesome. So that's the second bit. Now the third bit is right here. Emergency Stance. So again, right back at 30%. So now at 30%, you're freezing everything around you. You're getting a 7,000 point shield. And you're now getting the Golem effect, which is a Devastator skill, which super ups your resistances for 4 seconds. 4 seconds is a pretty long time when you're talking about being able to find something quickly and gun it down for your health back. Now, the beautiful part is this, even though this is 10 seconds, the shield is 5 and the ice is 5. So again, when you see that freeze go off, you know most of the time you're also getting shielded. You can probably see Golem forming on you as well. That is your sign to kill something quick or get the hell out of there. And by doing that, you will find your survivability on higher tiered maps go up dramatically. Those times when you normally just get like 1 or 2 shot, all of a sudden you're getting a chance to get back in the game. And then you'll notice you start doing it and it all just kind of starts clicking. So those are 3 great traits to keep you surviving at higher levels, especially if you're playing solo. Because again, every single enemy is going to be on you. You don't have buddies to be attacked. They're all coming for you. So that ice is really going to help because a lot of times all the melee are right there. ready to get hit. Keep in mind the ice can be resisted, so in a case like that, you may want to look at which mobs are getting resisted and go for them first in the off chance that they're able to take you down. Continuing on, other mods, we have Phantom Dash. I really like Phantom Dash, again, going back to that solo play, because there are times when you will just get absolutely bang-ganged by mobs. You will get put into a corner and literally surrounded by mobs, and there's nothing you can do. You're so close to the corner, your camera's not even working properly, and in most circumstances, you're just dead. In those cases, oh, I guess I'll die then. That is your life. So I've started implementing Phantom Dash for the specific purpose of, when you get in those situations, not only can you then just phase out and keep going, but also a very cool trick, because of our assassin tree, you do 40% more damage from behind. If you run straight at a mob, you can Phantom Dash through the mob, turn around, and you're doing 40% extra damage. And also, a lot of the times, if the mob's big enough, it will have to actually turn around to attack you, also saving you time. So basically, you can run straight at a mob, phase through it, immediately Venator's Knife to slow it down. It's going to get back to you even slower. At that point, you're doing extra damage. You're also getting the effect of the double from Venerators. It's all sorts of good stuff. So yeah, I'm starting to like Phantom Dash. However, not everyone likes it, and this could be a spot for another offensive or defensive mod to help your build as well. Going down to here, we have Gun Shield. Now this is a great thing for Gun Shield. It's not quite as good as the second one, but considering you want to have borrowed time up as much as possible, it's a nice little 26k bonus firepower. You know, we're talking like 20, maybe 10 to 15% extra firepower, just kind of there, which is nice. This can be replaced again with all sorts of different mods to help with survivability, to give you 100% extra armor for the first 10 seconds of borrowed time if you want that. You can also extend the duration of borrowed time if you prefer. I like this because, again, I'm really big about the firepower of this build, and all these little firepower things kind of together are what makes the big numbers. So this is just another little punch in the right direction. Personal space, again, exactly what I was just talking about. 15% close range weapon damage really helps out well. And then finally, and this is the big one, this is the big one, this is why borrowed time is so important. Time space protection. Receive 137,000 armor and 30% resistance with this skill active. This turns borrowed time from some weird movement skill to a buff. My default armor is 43,000. I now have 174,000 armor. This is one of the things that will save you. This is an incredibly powerful tool in the Trickster toolkit. It makes us from a strongly offensive class to an actual survivable strongly offensive class. It's a really, really solid buff. And I strongly recommend it, especially at higher tiers. So all of this together is the build that I've kind of been fine-tuning throughout the game. Like I said, I'm not done with this. I certainly do not have a lot of T3 mods, and T3 mods in a lot of ways can kind of like give you all sorts of interesting new ideas and interesting ways to play the game. One of the things I'm doing right now is, now that I've just kind of gotten this build recently, I'm just now starting to kind of figure out what I want to do for T14 and T15 so I can start farming legendaries. But anyway, let me show you the build a little bit, and you can see what we're dealing with. First, you get a kill to trigger the crits. 500k. There's these going down. The Venator's also slows, which is really nice. That's going to give us the crit. Going to keep working through here. Is that guy dead? I think that guy's dead. Let's see, right there, unfortunately, I didn't do that one quite well. There's the freeze. You can see how important that freeze is. We hit 30%, and all of a sudden, instead of dying, we're right back in the game. Our borrowed time is up. We're going to hit that immediately. So you can see this build has a lot of power, but at the same time, with the 30% stuff, it has a lot of versatility and also survivability as well, which is really nice. Want to make sure we get that trapper. But yeah, that's our build. I hope this helps you in your game. Best of luck with your Trickster, and thanks for watching. You can find more at twitch.tv/CohhCarnage. And thanks as always. Good luck.